The desert was merciless that day, a wide expanse of golden sand stretching endlessly beneath a sun that seemed intent on burning everything beneath it. Heat waves shimmered in the distance, distorting the horizon so it appeared as though pools of water existed, cruel mirages, mocking the desperate. A young woman staggered forward, her every movement slow and labored. Her lips were cracked, her throat dry as stone, and her clothes clung to her body, damp with sweat that her body could no longer afford to lose. She had been left there, not by accident, but by cruel intention. Betrayal burned deeper than the sun above her. Hours earlier, the people she had trusted, those she thought would protect her, had abandoned her with no water, no food, and no way to survive. Their last words still echoed in her mind, harsh and final, "You don't belong with us anymore." Her boots sank into the hot sand with every step. Her skin, once pale and delicate, had begun to redden and peel under the brutal heat. She could feel her strength slipping away, like grains of sand falling through an hourglass. She whispered for help, her voice rasping like the desert wind, but the empty wasteland gave her no answer. After what felt like an eternity, her knees buckled. She collapsed face first into the sand, the burning grains pressing against her skin. Her body screamed for water, for shade, for even a drop of mercy. Tears threatened to fall, but even they refused to come. Her body had nothing left to give. Lying there, fading in and out of consciousness, she thought of home, of people she once loved, and of moments when life had been kind. Those memories became her only comfort as darkness crept at the edge of her vision. The desert was claiming her, slowly and cruelly. She accepted it in silence, believing that this lonely death was all that remained for her. The desert was quiet, broken only by the rhythmic thud of hooves against the sand. A lone cowboy rode across the endless terrain, his hat shielding his weathered face from the relentless sun. His horse, a strong chestnut stallion, moved with steady determination, carrying its rider as though it had done so 1,000 times before. The cowboy had seen many things in his years: storms that tore through the land, cattle drives that stretched for miles, and men who lost themselves in the wilderness. But nothing caught his attention more sharply than the faint shape lying motionless in the sand ahead. He narrowed his eyes, tugged on the reins, and urged his horse forward. As he drew closer, his breath caught. A woman. Fragile, still, her skin scorched by the sun. He dismounted swiftly, his boots crunching against the sand, and knelt at her side. For a moment, fear gripped him. Was he too late? He pressed 2 fingers to her neck. A faint pulse. Relief washed over him, but urgency followed just as quickly. "Hold on, darlin'," he muttered under his breath, his voice rough but filled with resolve. He lifted her carefully, his strong arms cradling her fragile frame, and placed her across his horse. Her head lolled against his chest as he climbed back into the saddle, his jaw set tight. He knew the desert. He knew how quickly it could take a life. He had seen men far stronger than her fall under its grip. Yet something inside him refused to let this woman become another ghost of the sand. With a firm nudge, he spurred his horse forward, the stallion galloping with renewed energy as though it, too, understood the urgency. Every minute mattered. The sun beat down relentlessly, and sweat trickled down the cowboy's temples. He whispered encouragements, both to his horse and to the unconscious woman in his arms. "Stay with me. Just stay with me." By the time his cabin came into view, perched at the edge of a canyon, where shade and water existed, exhaustion tugged at him. Still, he pushed forward, riding straight into the safety of his land. He dismounted quickly, carried her inside, and laid her on a small bed. Fetching water, he dipped a cloth and pressed it gently against her lips, praying she would respond. And when her chest rose with a deeper breath, a fragile flicker of life, he exhaled with relief. He had saved her, for now. Hours passed. The cabin was quiet except for the crackle of a small fire in the hearth. The woman stirred, her eyelashes fluttering as consciousness returned. She blinked against the dim light and found herself lying on a soft blanket, her throat aching but no longer unbearably dry. Beside her, the cowboy sat in a wooden chair, his hat in his lap, watching over her with steady eyes. Confusion filled her first. Where am I?" Her voice was weak, little more than a whisper. "You're safe," the cowboy replied gently, handing her a cup of water. "My place. Found you out there in the desert. You were lucky I came along when I did." Her hands trembled as she accepted the cup, sipping the cool water slowly. Gratitude welled in her eyes. "You saved me. Why? You didn't even know me. The cowboy's gaze dropped, his expression conflicted. For a long moment, he didn't speak, the silence heavy between them. Finally, he exhaled, his voice low and rough with emotion. That's the thing, darlin'. I do know you. Her brow furrowed in confusion. What do you mean? He leaned forward, elbows resting on his knees. His face, lined from years of sun and hardship, softened as memories stirred. Years ago, before all this, before I became just a cowboy out here in the wild, I had a life. A family. And you were part of that. Shock rippled through her. She shook her head weakly. No, that's not possible. I would remember. You were just a child, he said, his voice breaking slightly. Too young to understand. They took you away, told me I'd never see you again. I searched, but life, it has a way of stealing chances from a man. Tears welled in her eyes as realization dawned. She searched his face, the eyes, the jawline, the way he spoke, and fragments of buried memories flickered to life. A man holding her as a child, a gentle voice calling her name, a promise whispered long ago. Her breath hitched. You're my father. The cowboy's eyes glistened. He nodded slowly. I never stopped looking, never stopped hoping. And when I found you lying there in the desert, I knew fate wasn't finished with us. Not yet. Emotion crashed over her like a wave, relief, sorrow, disbelief, and joy all at once. She reached for his hand, her voice trembling. You saved me, twice. Once as a child, and now again. The cowboy squeezed her hand firmly, his voice steady though his eyes brimmed with tears. No, darlin', this time, I'm never letting you go.